My name is Mike Shaw. I'm the space bear hunter, and today we're going to talk about tardigrades. And we have with us Hillary Brannon.
And then this is Samuel, and he is a second grade gifted and talented student doing a passion project on tardigrades.
And Hillary, tell us what school district you're in, or?
So we are in Fort Bend ISD in Houston, Texas, or just outside of Houston. So
Great, wonderful. So the first question was, how does the tardigrade protect themselves? What a tardigrade does is they do two things. One, they curl up into a little ball, and that's called a tun, T-U-N. Yeah. And that when they're in that state, nothing can really harm them. So they could survive freezing temperatures, extreme heat. They can also survive. Usually they curl up into that when there is not enough water for them. So that's what they do. And then the second thing they do is they give themselves an outer shell called a husk or cuticle, it's sometimes called, or cyst. It's called encystation. And what that is it's like a protective superhero costume, which the tardigrades form outside their body, and it looks exactly like their body. And basically, they're protected while they're inside that. And then when the conditions are right, they usually do that when there's not enough oxygen to breathe. And then when everything is fine, they break out of that shell and they go back to normal. So that's how they protect themselves. Those are two methods that they use. And that whole process, whether it's the shell process or whether it's curling up into the tun, that process is called cryptobiosis.
Why are tardigrades sometimes called water bears if they don't even look like bears?
So he asked, why are they sometimes called water bears even though they don't look like bears?
Tardigrades, in order for them to move around and act in their environment, they need water. Although they don't live really, they don't live in the sea or in streams, they are land animals just like we are. They live on land. That's called terrestrial. And even though they live on land, they have to be in water in order to survive. So where is this water? In the morning when you go outside, if you look at blades of grass, they're covered with dew and are moist from this dew. And this layer of moisture is what tardigrades live in. So for example, if you're familiar with moss, it's a very soft type of, it's like grass, but it's not grass. It's a very soft surfaced plant with lots of tiny little leaves. Moss is where tardigrades live because it's always very moist and it has that very thin layer of water. Tardigrades also live in lichen, which grows on trees. And lichen is the fluffy, usually the fluffy yellow coating that you'll see on a tree. That's also very moist. And so tardigrades need that moisture in order to move around.
Ask your next question.
Oh.
Are you able to hear this a little bit better?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good.
What is your favorite thing about your job?
Oh, okay. My favorite thing about my job is actually going outside, walking around in nature, just listening to the sound of the birds and enjoying the fresh air and looking for tardigrades on trees and on the moss on rocks. So that's really something I really like to do a lot. You know, part of the fun, of course, is looking at tardigrades under the microscope, but the best part, to answer your question, is just walking around outside in nature and just enjoying the scenery. That's really my favorite part.
Okay. What education did you receive before becoming a tardigrade expert?
Okay, that's good because I actually did not have a background or an education in science. I just had a regular, I just went to school just like you did, elementary school, middle school, and high school. And then I went to college, and in college I studied fine art. So I actually learned how to draw, and I also learned how to make videos and um, how to record podcasts. So I learned all of that. It's called communication arts and fine art, nothing to do with tardigrades. But I became interested in tardigrades when my children, I have two daughters, when they were in school like you are, and they wanted to do a scientific project. That's how I became interested in tardigrades. So even though I wasn't educated in science, I became very involved in doing science, just like you're doing right now.
Cool.
Cool. Do you have any suggestions that would help me carry out the tardigrade project?
Or
Sure.
anything that he should include in his
Yeah,
project?
right. Okay. So the first question I would ask is, do you have a copy of my free book called How to Find Tardigrades? Did you get that? Do you have that
No.
book? Okay. So at the end of this, I'll give you a link where you can download the free book. And that book will tell you step by step what to do. I'll give you an overview right now. So the first thing you'll need to do, and you don't need to write this down because you're going to get the book. The first thing you need to do is have a scientific notebook, which it looks like you already do have. Second thing is you'll actually go out in your own backyard or in the, sometimes even in the schoolyard, it depends, and actually look for lichen, which is the yellow, that yellow coating on trees, or moss. And this book will show you how to find that. And get tiny little samples, you don't need a lot, and put them in envelopes or paper school lunch bags. You don't want to put the samples in plastic bags because it could get moldy. So then after you get your samples in these envelopes, then what you're going to do is take a little bit of what you've collected and put it into a Petri dish. And if you don't have a Petri dish, you could use any little plastic container. You could even use blister packaging. So for example, when you get products from, it usually comes in a package like this. There's a plastic section like this. This is called blister pack. So you can peel this off, and now you have a little tray where you can put water, okay? So you put some water in that, and this book will tell you how to do that, and a little bit of sprinkle of the lichen or moss, and then you wait overnight. And then the next day, tardigrades should be in there. Now, in order to see those tardigrades, you're going to need a microscope. So I don't know if you have access to a microscope.
Yeah, we can get one. We have one. Some of our older grade levels have one in the science lab. So
And I'm gonna get one, but for my own on Christmas.
oh,
Okay, that'd be great. And if you're wondering what kind of microscope to get, I have that on my website. My website is www.tardigrade.us. Okay, and then there's a section on there for teachers, and it has a list of all the stuff and recommendations.
cool.
But basically, you don't need a very powerful or expensive microscope. You just
No.
need an inexpensive dissecting microscope. And you take the Petri dish, and you'll actually be able to look in it and see if you could find a tardigrade. It's a little bit challenging, but this booklet will show you how to do that. And that's how you're going to find tardigrades.
That will be so cool. Well, he did draw a picture of one.
Yeah, but it's not really that good.
Can I see it?
Well, I told him that one thing that he needs to think about is with the colors, making it more realistic for the coloring that matches the real coloring of the tardigrade. So did you want to show him? I mean,
Yes, please. Let's show me the picture. That's good. Now let me count the legs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 legs. You did it. That's great. That's great. Now, I will say this. You drew a picture of a tardigrade. continue doing it, because the more you draw pictures of tardigrades, the better you'll get. You know, I do the same thing. Let me get my sketchbook here. So I have a little sketchbook, and basically what I do is I draw pictures. Here's a snail.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so let me show you my tardigrade picture. I just drew this this week. And I'll actually show you what we're talking about. Now, this is when the tardigrade goes into cryptobiosis. So you could see here is where the tardigrade has the protective shell, and it's inside being protected. Here's another one just like that. And here's where the tardigrade curls up into a little ball like a ton. Okay, so that's when I just drew this week, because I'm working on some science lessons for teachers about tardigrades. So Hillary, I'll be glad to send you some of those if you want to look at
That would be great. Yes. I love that. Those are really nice drawings.
Right, thanks. So what I would say to you, Samuel, is you're off to a very good start. Keep drawing, you know, and the best way to learn how to draw pictures of tardigrades is if you're on the internet and you put in there tardigrade drawing, not tardigrade, because tardigrades will give you pictures of tardigrades. But if you put tardigrade drawing, you'll actually see how other people draw it, and then you copy the way they drew it. And that's how you're going to learn how to draw. And you can learn how to draw anything that way. Mm-hmm. Don't try and draw from life right away. Try and copy pictures that other people have done, and you'll see how they do their pictures. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you for that advice. Did you want to ask him one more question? I know he probably has to get back to his day.
Okay.
You want to do that one? Okay.
Have you ever experienced failure in your job, and how did you overcome that
failure?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, the answer is yes. Now, you know, there's an expression which I'm going to share with you now, and hopefully you'll remember it all your life. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything. That's the expression, because the only way to make progress in life is to make a lot of mistakes. So if you know, what you'll ultimately learn about is Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. And the famous story is he had to try 1,000 different things in that light bulb until he finally found one that worked. So it's a lot of anything great in this world, anything that you're enjoying, anything you like, anything we see in society and in technology, it all comes from the result of other people making many, many mistakes and having lots of failures. But regarding my failures, when I go out and look for tardigrades, very often I'll pull out that moss and I will not find any tardigrades. They're just not there. And it can be a little frustrating, but what do? I don't say, okay, I'm never going to find any tardigrades. I continue and I go out and I get another sample of moss. So that's a failure that I experience all the time. When it comes to many things in life, the best things we experience are because of what we've learned from making mistakes. So don't ever worry about making mistakes. Mistakes is part of life.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And not giving up.
Yeah, don't give up. Yeah.
Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask?
Well, I have 2 more questions. But I can give.
Let's just do this last one.
Okay. What was your favorite subject in school and your least favorite?
Oh, okay. That's good. My favorite subject in school was art. So because I did like drawing, okay. And I also liked learning about great artists and their lives and how they struggled, because it wasn't easy. Art is not really easy to do. It takes a long time. So for example, Van Gogh, a famous artist, which I'm sure you're going to hear about ultimately. If you look at Van Gogh's life, he struggled a lot, but in his life, within a period of just 10 years, he did 1,000 paintings. Most people don't realize that, but he worked really hard. So can you imagine, how old are you now, Samuel?
7.
7. Imagine by the time you're 17, having done 1,000 paintings. It's hard to imagine, right?
Yeah.
So it gives, so by me studying the lives of great artists, it was very encouraging for me not to give up and to try hard, to work hard. That was my favorite subject. My least favorite subject was I learned another language, German, okay? So my least favorite subject was German because I had to memorize a lot of words that I didn't understand, and I had to practice a lot, and I had a lot of homework and a lot of tests that were very hard. But let me just tell you something funny. So then when I was in college, I went away to Germany. I went on a trip to Germany, and believe it or not, even though I wasn't a very good student, all of the German that I had studied came back to me, and I was actually able to communicate and speak and understand German in a foreign country. And it was a great experience for me. And then I realized, oh, I should have studied harder. I'd be so much better. So, you know, everything you learn, here's the takeaway for this, Samuel. Everything you learn, even subjects that you don't like so much and subjects you do like, all of it is important and all of it is great. So what I would say is the key is try the best you can to love learning no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. So this is so much more amazing than I expected or even knew, because this is our first year doing this program. And so we're, getting used to having our young students interview adults. But we really, really appreciate you taking time to talk to us. And, did you want to say anything to Mr. Shaw?
Thank you for helping me with my project, Mr. Shaw.
It's a pleasure. And look, one thing I'll tell you, Samuel, I want to help you continue with this particular project. So just work with your teacher, and I will, I'll answer any additional questions, and I'll provide any supporting material or pictures or whatever else you need to work on your project. I do want to help you do a good job on this project.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Take care. Nice meeting you, Samuel.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.